This first post comes from the subreddit Ask an Australian. I had $37 worth of fish and salad and they asked for tips. Do we have to tip on a sit down meal now? This post was automatically deleted from the subreddit r/Sydney. So someone was angry. Apart from the occasional food court, I seldom eat out. Please be kind because I don't know how to react to this. I went to a hipster place and I understand that sitting down with table service is going to be pricey. But is $37 for fish and salad instead of chips the expected price now? The receipt states there is a 15% surcharge on public holidays too. Luckily, I went there off peak. Also, they asked for tips at the end. Service was all right. They took my order and cleaned my table. I put no tip, but are we expected to tip now? Sorry, since COVID, I have really enjoyed being a hermit. Same, mate, same.
So as somebody that's worked for a long time in the hospitality space, there's two sides to this. First of all, $37 for fish and salad, it depends on the kind of fish. Like, I'm not going to spend that on whiting or like just some fried fish. But if it's a nice piece of like your salmon or your like swordfish or marlin, that's a completely acceptable price to have. But we live in a culture where we have increased our minimum pay rates to the point where we shouldn't have to tip. That being said, if I'm ever buying food in a place where I can see the people making my food, I'm tipping before my food comes out to me. Because I know that if people are expecting a tip and there's the potential they think I'm not going to be tipping, somebody's going to mess with my food.
Yes, Australia has rather aggressive employment legislation specifically to protect from this, that people know when they join their enterprise agreements, which is their workplace contracts, that what is written into that contract is the bare minimum that they can get paid without tipping coming in. And he did specifically say here that he got a fish and salad as opposed to fish and chips. So I am thinking that is one of your more like basic battered fish that you would get from a fish and chip shop. But Ben and I did work together at the here in New where there was a rule that no tips could be accepted. It wasn't allowed because of how strongly the management felt that high quality service is that bare minimum. What you get paid here, that is the set standard and that no one should be relying on tips or expecting them.
That being said, the amount that they were paying was bare minimum, so usually not enough to actually get by on. People still took tips constantly, and their service was honestly rather mediocre, considering quite often some of the kitchen staff had to come out and actually help during service.
Yeah, I wasn't sure where you were going with that, considering you were the one that was there at the front of house omelette station the whole time. Take your omelette and get out. Okay, top comments. Nope, do not tip. This is something that is creeping in, especially in our cities. But we all just have to continue to say no tip. It's also because the software they are using is American, hence the tip prompt. I did not consider that.
The other thing is, other things, Sydney is kind of its own microcosm. So is Melbourne. And they are, especially Sydney, a lot more Americanized.
Yeah, they're very much like the Alaska and Hawaii of Australia.
They're Australia light. Actually, Australia extra heavy. But
heavy on the boomers in Sydney, heavy on the hipsters in Melbourne.
And both of them believe that, hey, we should probably tip for two very different reasons.
The tipping in Melbourne is off the fedora.
Milady. On the flip side, there is actually a lot of legislation and a lot of companies in America that are trying to get rid of tipping culture by upping their rates. I can't remember the name of the company, but there was a company a few years ago that was upping their pay rate to $18 minimum American. So that'd be about 27 Australian at the moment. And it was shown that people that were paid that kind of rate not only were happy with their job, they were giving better service and they didn't feel as stressed. You're living on those tips.
Yeah, coming out of education, I can tell you now, there's no point in incorporating tipping culture into the Australian environments because I guarantee you our teenagers are going to grow into adults that are not going to be interested in doing maths when they get to a restaurant.
That implies that they know how to.
Yeah.